Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. Joining me here, my good colleague and pal, one Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, this time next week, we're going to know what the Steelers will have done in the first round of the NFL draft. But as of right now, I don't think we have a freaking clue exactly where they're going with this first pick. What's up, my friend?
Could be a lot of places. It'll be interesting. Hey, I look forward to our post-draft show next Thursday.
Yes, sir. Next Thursday after the draft. Friday. Friday's going to be one pick unless we never know what's going to happen. There could be some trades. Maybe Omar Khan gets back into second round. Maybe Aaron Rodgers decides that he does want to play football instead of retire or whatever. All the other, his interview was completely useless. It didn't move the needle on anything and
at all.
All it did was confirm that he's talking to several teams and he's contemplating retirement, which the great Chuck Noll once said, was it Chuck? Yeah, it's Chuck Noll. If you're thinking about retirement, then you're
already retired.
Yeah, you're already retired. Without further ado, we're not retired. We've just been trying to space these out, work around our real lives, vacations, everything else that's been going on, and we are prepped and ready to go to the mock drafts. If you haven't been here before for this, folks, what we do is we take a look at everyone else's mock drafts, not our own, because I don't know what the hell the Steelers are doing. At least like some years, we may have an inkling of, well, if Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis is there, or Najee Harris is the prototypical Steeler, he's going to be a Steeler. You just know he is. Or they're going to move up for Devin Bush. And whether those picks work or not is irrelevant to this exercise. This exercise is to show you sometimes just how preposterous the mock drafts could be, or how everyone just kind of follows the leader. Now, full disclosure. Now Brian said off air, he's like, well, I peek at a few of them. Well, who doesn't? Something comes out, you take a look, but prior to this is going to be a genuine reaction for some of these. This could be a little messy as I click around and just find what's out on the internet. Some of them are a little more established websites or writers, reporters, people in the media, like a Daniel Jeremiah, like a Field Yates, like a Mel Kiper Jr. And we've got those, and some of them I'll show just in brief too, since they're behind paywalls. We don't want to give everyone else's stuff away for free because we wouldn't like that either. So without further ado,
wait, I got to point something out.
Oh,
I have a new piece of crap in the back there.
Oh,
Look
yeah,
at it spinning. I have the Holo helmet. It's very exciting.
That is cool, man. I like how it's going. Like now I'm off screen here, but I had Poco had, like, you could see a little bit. They got the Woodstock bobblehead. The Woodstock bobblehead. So sorry if I'm a little off.
The thing that amazes me about this is I started that rotation 10 days ago. It has not stopped. Like this is as close to perpetual. I don't know whether there's a little fan in there. I haven't examined it to see how it's doing this, but it literally has never stopped spinning once. And that to me, that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, technology, man. And then we have like little things, like sometimes I'm around here fidgeting with stuff on my desk. I almost did like I looked at like the wide camera view for this. I get like the telephoto, and then you get like my window, you get like everything. There's like a mural up here of Rod Woodson that Tina Rivers, our managing editor, actually made the print. So I've got that. Like one of these days I'm just gonna like zoom out. You get a little more when we do a reel. I have not been motivated to do any reels because what the hell is there to talk about until the Steelers do something? But fair. I will show you. Yeah. I will show you.
Happen next week.
A positive potato. And I may be just a little potato, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. So we're going to go do this, man. Believe. Awesome. I'm going to go with CBS Sports first. They have a bunch of them on here. And this gets us to talk a little bit about the different draft prospects. Hopefully they don't have pop-ups. Do you want to follow this page with video and everything else? I'm trying to, as best I can, to not give away free advertisement. But we know some of these names like Ryan Wilson, Chris Trapasso. And it's funny, like, if anybody, there will be one that I know that won't have Cam Ward, but pretty much I think everyone is sold on Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans, #1 overall. I'm not trying to look at what everyone else is doing unless there's a trade. They'll make some trades here. Maybe the Steelers move up. Maybe we'll see somebody fall. Maybe we'll see somebody go like earlier, like McMillan, nobody knows. Some of them have him as a top 10 pick, wide receiver out of Arizona. Some of them do not. So, but as we get down to 21, where the Steelers are, and just a reminder, Steelers do not have a second round pick. They only have 6 picks overall. I think 2 of them are 6th rounders. I'll go back to that actual list. But you would be happy, Brian, because Ryan Wilson gives the Steelers the Ole Miss, not Jackson Dart, but the other Rebel, Walter Nolan, defensive line. So they go after your need. Whereas Chris Trapazzo, he goes with Shedeur Sanders.
It's a popular one.
It's 2
that I've seen. Yeah,
2 of the 3. And if the Steelers could get Sanders at 21, as much as I've said about him being Deion's kid and everything, he put up big numbers in Colorado. If you're going to shoot your shot, and the Steelers have some glaring needs. All right.
Oh, and yeah.
I know you know that, but when I look at running back and defensive line as needs, I also can acknowledge they have Jalen Warren, they have Cam Hayward, they have Keanu Benton. We're thinking about depth, and I think about a first-round player and getting in there right away. Now, if it's somebody that's going to play, maybe Benton plays on the nose, or they get somebody who plays on the nose, it's about 30% of play time. It's not a ton. Running back, are they going to take 3 downs? Are they going to take Najee Harris's workload, or is Warren going to get a bump? I think we could all agree that the prospects of 35-year-old Cam Hayward playing a full 17-game season, Jalen Warren playing a full 17-game season, that's scary. And that's the reason why we want to look for somebody that can maybe offset that, plus be a pick for the future, right? But they don't have a quarterback necessarily. And even like I'm a big Mason Rudolph guy. I have been. And there's some people that just genuinely hate on him, but I don't have these grand illusions that he's going to do any better or worse than the quarterbacks they've had in there for the last 2 or 3 seasons post Ben Roethlisberger. He might have a nudge on Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. He's going to put the same kind of numbers.
Please let him have a nudge on Mitch Trubisky.
I mean, we already know that he does. I mean, we already know that he did, but it's Arthur Smith's system, so this is different, and that could also handcuff you too. You never know. What if he ends up going off, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, we've got our quarterback, and they signed him for 2 years, so they're looking.
God forbid.
Well, the reason being, but in honesty, if you view him as a backup quarterback, you have like a safety hatch there, right? You have somebody you can fall back on over these next 2 seasons if you try to develop and or play a rookie quarterback. Sanders is one of the top prospects in what people feel is a poor quarterback class. A lot of times when people say that, they're absolutely right. We went through all the names in a past episode. This could be another one. Maybe they surprise you. Mike Tomlin loves his second generation players. Is Sanders going to come in there and start right away? Tomlin's stubborn. That's probably not going to happen. So would he start by midseason? Maybe. He might not start at all if they bring him in there and then he's not any good. Maybe Omar Khan has enough sense. Maybe they'll trade him next year and start this whole thing over. If Aaron Rodgers comes out of his retreat or whatever, his darkness, whatever, and signs, they're still going to probably be in this same situation next year with, will Rodgers play again? Or is he going to retire? Or you got to go to somebody in a draft and everybody's like, wow, it's going to be a really good draft class next year, Joe. Brian's right. There's going to be better prospects, but you know what that means? You're going to have teams tripping over themselves and maybe a few others that aren't looking for quarterbacks this year. The same ones that are this year will be looking next year in addition to some others. And you're going to be in a bidding war, an auction for some of these players. You could do worse than just giving up your natural pick to take a flyer on a player at an extreme position of need is pretty much my case. That was our whole last show anyways. So
yeah, I'm going to just reiterate what I've said before, and which is this: taking the best or second best player at a position in a draft where that position is questionable at best.
Yeah, I know.
I don't see the value there. To me, you stock up on guys that have a better pedigree and have a better chance of success in the NFL. And next year, when you've got all those comp picks and you've got the availability, and maybe you stunk this year, so you maybe have a top 10 pick, you go after what you can go after. I am fine. I'm actually fine with riding the Mason Rudolph wave for 2 or 3 years until we have the opportunity to get our guy without bankrupting ourselves. Right. I just don't, I would be fine taking a flyer if this class was better and we had better options. But right now, what I see is instead of taking the guy who is the best potential quarterback in this particular draft, which is what they did when they took Kenny Pickett. You're taking the next best guy. How did it work out last time? Not so good. So I would rather we go a different way. Hey, whoever they pick, I'll cheer for, right? But that's my opinion. I just don't think it's the right move.
I can't disagree with that. I'd say I'd love to get the lines fixed. I'd love to have enough support system for the next guy. Like, again, I don't think Rudolph tanks the team. I think that's where a lot of people.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just like, they're also thinking win now. Does Rudolph win you a playoff game? They might not move the needle there either. They might not be the big Super Bowl contender, but he's not the big turnover guy. Maybe his experience, maybe he's a little, you could do worse is what I'm trying to say. And even grabbing one of these rookies could be doing worse. I saw somebody I put this out there too yesterday. I put it out on the X and I said, what if the Steelers did what the then Washington Redskins, back when they took RG3, they also took Kirk Cousins. What if they double dip position in need? Because the Steelers are well known at doing that over all of their years, just maybe not at the quarterback position. So a lot of us are looking at like Tyler Shugg and looking at Will Howard, and Kyle McCord just had a visit too. And
yep.
I don't necessarily view those guys as starters. I think that's trouble. I think it's like, you got Skylar Thompson sitting on the bench and he's there because he has some NFL starting experience. I think it looks, a lot of people also are misguided about what happened with Mason when he played in 2019. He was throwing to Dante Moncrief. Did any of you like Dante Moncrief? No, you didn't. Do you remember Benny Snell? He was handing off to him. Remember Nick Vanette? He was one of the tight ends. I remember injury-prone Vance McDonald was the guy who had the most snaps on offense at the skill positions, and he was far from reliable. I mean, that's how much that time that James Conner missed, how much time that Juju missed that season. You had Deion Kane plucked off a practice squad. You had Johnny Holton out there. I'm forgetting names. There was a guy like Tony Brooks James. That might actually be his name. He had like 4 carries and then was gone. I think he played like a Thursday night game. They were in such dire straits. Rudolph got knocked out by Earl Thomas. Then he comes back, and it was a little slower, a little less aggressive. He was a little timid. Then he had the whole incident with the helmet and Myles Garrett. And then right after that, he got yanked because he was playing scared, And everybody's like, oh, he lost his job because Duck Hodges outperformed him. No, Duck Hodges got benched again after barely they had a little lightning in a bottle, and Tomlin's trying to find whatever. Rudolph breaks his collarbone, and he's never to be seen again except for like one game where they sat all the starters against Cleveland. He threw for over like 300 yards against them. He was the only Steelers quarterback since Ben to have done that. Since I think Russell Wilson's done it at least once. Kenny might have done it. I think Kenny did it in his very first start against the Bills too, but that's because he also threw the ball 50 times because they were playing from behind. They got throttled. But Russ did it last year against the Cincinnati Bengals. But anyways, we don't want to get into too much of the quarterback purgatory here. We know where they're at. Could they take a double shot? Is it wasted picks? Not if they work out. So any of these could be wasted picks. We've mentioned some guy was stuck
100%.
on somebody was stuck on Artie Burns with Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller on the XM radio show yesterday. They had like the afternoon show. And they're like, wasn't that like 10 years ago? And hasn't he been in the NFL? Like, he might not have worked out for the Steelers and he might not have worked out overall, but this guy's he's going into season 10.
He's had a career.
He's had a career. So he's not complete junk, but he's not, everybody wants you to draft the next Troy. Where we're at right now on the ride is, if you go back to pre-Ben, we are on Tommy Maddox. We've just had the Mike Tomczak. We've just had the Kent Graham. we are at Tommy Maddox. If we could get Mason to be Tommy Maddox, I think they could be competitive. The next... go ahead.
Wait, to get back to our process here. Mm-hmm. So I have no problem with the first draft you showed, right? Walter Nolan, I think it's a safe pick. There's some, I should say, it's not necessarily a safe pick. There's risk there because, he's got some issues that could pop up. But I like that pick and I like his potential. He's got great upside, right? And potential caliber and a position of potential need. Certainly building for the future. May not be a guy that directly impacts us this year, but if Cam plays 1 more year or 2 more years, he's a guy that may allow that to happen. The Sanders one, I hate it. I'm being honest. I hate it. I wouldn't do it.
I could get behind it, but yeah, we'll see as we go through these. I have some better ideas.
Very similar to what happened in our post-draft show where they picked Kenny Pickett. I will say the same thing. I don't like it. I'll cheer for him. I'll be a fan, but I don't like it.
Mike Renner
and I'll hope I'm proved wrong is the way it'll go. I hope I'm proved wrong.
We've got Mike Renner and Josh Edwards still here with CBS Sports. Cam Ward at the top. A lot of them have the Browns either with Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, which would be interesting. Cleveland.
I want to say this: how many people? When's the last time a running back went top 10? Saquon?
Yeah, Saquon's probably the last one. Was he like 4 or 5 to the Giants? I think he was well, you know what? No, Bijan Robinson, I think, went like 8th or something to the Falcons. Yeah, he was pretty high up there.
Tells you how much I pay attention.
And Gibbs was kind of high too. Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions, but you're right. It doesn't happen often. But yeah, Asha Genti is looking like that kind of guy, right? But I was saying with the Browns, please take Hunter. He wants to play both sides of the ball. He'll never be able to live up to that, I don't think. It would be somebody compared it to Shohei Ohtani in baseball, and it's like, yeah, that would have to be like the first guy since Babe Ruth, or the only guy that's ever done it. Both of these drafts for the Steelers, by the way, the next two up, Renner, and I forgot the other one. Both take Shedeur Sanders.
That's what I think.
There we go. Okay, Kyle Stackpole, Garrett Podell, or Podell. I'm sorry, I don't know. Luther Burden, wide receiver out of Missouri, and Omarion Hampton, the North Carolina running back. Now, I like Hampton. I know if you're not going to go, if you don't go defensive line, our problem, Brian, is that we think that they could find a running back in the 3rd or 4th round in a very deep draft class.
Right. I have no problem with them spending the 21st pick on the second best running back in a very deep running back class. Right. I'm okay with that. If that's where you think your best value is, I won't argue with that pick. Depending on who else is available and who else may have slidden down the roll. I'm not 100% sold on Luther Burden III, but I'm not 100% against Luther Burden III.
I agree.
I think, in my mindset, first-round wide receivers are as spotty as first-round quarterbacks, right? We went through this in one of our shows recently where we talked about what are the best success rates. Wide receiver is actually the worst. It's worse than quarterback for first round picks.
Yeah,
so
it's wild.
You have to be real confident. Am I real confident in Luther Burden III? Mm-mm. I am not. No. If it's Emeka Egbuka, I'm a lot more confident, right? But he's not good. He's a slot guy, right? He's not an outside guy.
Well, that's going to surprise you because I think he's the next pick to the Chargers on the one draft right behind Hampton, and then. Jahdae Barron, Nick Manawari, Josh Simmons, Derek Harmon. So there's and then Walter Nolan last to the Eagles, of course. That would be such an Eagles pick.
That would suck so much.
Oh man, I know, right?
I need the Eagles to start getting bad at the defensive side of the ball. Please and thank you. Just so I can give my brother some crap.
I know. It's like they've made some of the moves. The Steelers are headed there. I mean, their A.J. Brown trade is very similar to Khan going for DK Metcalf. Now,
yes, it is. Very much so.
Yeah, we'll see where they go from here. Pete Prisco, he's always a favorite. Let's see what Pete's got going. What's he got cooking? A lot of people got the.
It's not going to be Shedeur Sanders.
Nope, he's at 9 to the Saints, which could very well, the Saints might be. We don't know what's happening with Derek Carr these days.
Derek Carr, yeah.
His shoulder's a little banged up. Matthew Golden's up here. I don't even know that I would shoot my shot for Matthew Golden, to be honest. Let's see the Steelers. Oh, they miss out on Hampton at pick 20, and it's Jackson Dart at 21. So the third quarterback.
As much as I would hate the Shedeur Sanders pick, this is worse.
I know you don't like it.
And again, if I can get him in the 3rd round, take him all day. If I have to take him in the 1st round, I just think it's dumb.
You're never going to get him in the 2nd round without a 2nd round pick. And I
said 3rd.
I know that. I don't think Sanders or Dart falls out of the top 50 is what I'm saying. Not even Dart, because I think the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, they're teams with high picks in each round. So they come back around the 2nd round, or maybe even use some collateral to jump back into the 1st, so they have that, rookie 5th-year option.
Here's
or something.
My prayer.
They could do that.
3 quarterbacks go before we pick. That's my prayer.
And you know what? It's entirely possible. You just never, ever know. That, I think, concludes the CBS Mock drafts. Let's see. I'm going to go with Mel Kiper and Field Yates off of ESPN. And
Really? Wow, I haven't seen Mel Kiper's because it's behind a paywall.
Well, I'm gonna scroll through some of this just to kind of. I'm gonna see if Shador's gone, and they have Yates taking him at 9 to the Saints. So
That's been a popular pick as well.
Yeah, that'll alleviate some of your concerns when you get down to 17 in their draft. So they alternate between Field Yates and Mel Kiper Jr. Yates has Walter Nolan going to the Bengals, which would probably piss you off as well.
Yes, it will.
Let's see. Amanawari ends up going to the Buccaneers. Amarian Hampton at 20 to the Broncos, and then Derek Harmon to the Steelers at 21. He was a draft visitor, and there's Ibuka right after it. So Harmon's a popular name also. So he led all FBS players in pressures from defensive tackle, and this is a guy that
I won't hate Derek Harmon. What I'm concerned with is I don't think his play style fits what our defense does. So I'm not sure he's a schematic fit. I think he's a high quality player, but and maybe you draft the high quality player and you adjust your schematic to fit him, right? I just don't know. Like if that's the pick, I think it's better than a quarterback.
Yeah, no, you know what? This is tough. A few of these go all the way back into like March 25th with Mike Tannenbaum. I'm still going to bring it up just for the fun of it, because I'm sure some of his picks have even changed since. So let's see. We'll jump to the first round pick for the Steelers, and he has them moving up. This was 2 weeks ago, roughly.
All right.
Moving up in a
this
trade
one
for Shador
I
Sanders.
hate so much that I want to go find Tannenbaum and punch him in the face.
What are they giving up? Because in order to move up, we would have to do this draft value.
11 spots. They're giving up a lot. They're probably giving up a first rounder next year, and potentially more.
Okay, I think I have it, and let me see the trade chart. We have this. This is Draft Tech, and I know it's probably very difficult to see, but the Steelers pick at 21, and this is the Jimmy Johnson Dallas Cowboys chart that a lot of people use to do the math to move up to 10. Did I say 10 with the Bears? 1,300.
You did. You said 10. 1,300 points.
They got to make up 500 points, and pick 83 in the third round is only worth 175, which probably means they have to give up their pick next year. I think it would have been pick 50 even. I think that's the one where Seattle's got right here. At pick 50 is only worth 400. So they may have to give up like a second, and then like a fourth is maybe worth 49. Maybe that gets them over the finish line. Maybe a conditional third, thinking that they're going to have a comp pick. That's rich for me for Sanders. I don't want to do that. If he fell
honestly
to 21,
don't believe. Yeah,
it's different. That's a lot different.
I don't believe that they can make that trade without giving up next year's first. I don't believe that
he's not worth two firsts.
And 100% agree. That's why I would hate this. I love it that the fact is he doesn't tell you what they're giving up to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he did, I'd respect it a little bit more because I could also mock it a little bit more.
I saw, what was it? I don't want to misappropriate who it was, but there was somebody on X. I even retweeted it or reposted or whatever it is now. Quote. And they had said the Steelers have botched this quarterback situation. I said, I disagree, because they didn't trade all this capital to go get Bryce Young, who might not be the guy. They didn't take a swing at like 2 or 3 for like a Trey Lance or a Zach Wilson. And the guys that they've tried out were former first-round picks that are like, well, maybe these guys have bad teams around them. Maybe they have bad coaching. So we'll give Trubisky a try. We'll give Justin Fields a try. They have a guy. They didn't draft anybody. Well, Ben was there. That's who Mason Rudolph is, and everybody craps all over that too. They also had Josh Dobbs. They tried to develop a couple of different options, and guess what? None of that is handicapped this season. We're not like, hey, they don't have 2 of their draft picks because they took a swing for Shador Sanders. It didn't work out. Now they don't have picks, and now they can't put another wide receiver opposite somebody or put another guy in the backfield or find somebody for the aging Cam Hayward to be his heir. So I disagree with that. And I think as long as they're wise with these decisions, I will support them. Moving up to 10 and seeing what it would cost for Shador Sanders, if it's 2 firsts, sorry, too rich for my blood.
First and a second is too rich for my blood.
Yeah, first and a
and
second.
I don't think And I don't think they can get it done for a first and or for that pick, R21, and a second next year. I think it's a second and a third, and it's way too much. Way too much.
Mm-hmm. Agree with you, my friend. Aaron Rodgers saying he would play for $10 million. Okay, that like piqued my interest a little bit, but that was also he's saying, well, the money isn't the thing. I think the thing is whether he wants to play or has the right fit, which I still think is Minnesota.
When did he say that? Recently?
Pat McAfee show yesterday.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
he was on,
well,
and
whatever.
He was on. You find the clip about him meeting with Aaron Glenn and Woody Johnson, I believe, the owner, or at least the GM that's there now. And they flew him out just to tell him they were going to release him.
Oh yeah, I read that part.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, that's so bad.
Look,
so
I don't like agreeing with Aaron Rodgers about anything, but I actually do think it's a dick move for them to make him fly out to tell him he's going to be released. Just tell him.
Yeah,
right. Come on,
a phone call's man enough. You don't have to send a FedEx or a text, but wasting his time.
That feels like he screwed us up for 2 seasons. Let's screw him. It's an ass move. I don't like it. They're ass hats.
Yeah. Matt Miller, as we move along, he's got the Steelers taking Azare Thomas, corner from Florida State. I think this one's off the map completely because they have Darius Slay. They have a few other guys they signed.
This
was
Corey Trice.
That just doesn't work. With Hampton going next on that mock, I don't care for it.
That's terrible. That's the worst one we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm. That really is.
Well, it's not as bad as the trade up for Sanders.
Which is
the second worst one we've seen.
Tannenbaum Tannenbaum always does that stuff, man. So okay,
that's clickbait. That's all that is. He's making some. He's stealing my thing. He's stealing mock draft insanity. That's what he's doing. Except he's doing it worse than I do it.
Even more insane insanity. Okay, insanity to your. Field Yates on his own. He gives Hampton to the Broncos with the pick before, and then Jackson Dart is his selection.
Which is exactly what that's since they showed that pick the last time. Yeah.
Well, and it fell in his lap that he had the odd number picks before. Now, I'm going to get Mel Kiper on his own. I'm trying to see if he's got any. Shador's gone. Hampton's gone at 12 to the Cowboys in this one. So
ooh, that's high.
Yeah. I mean, that Jerry Jones would do something like that. So he's got Derek Harmon coming to the Steelers, and I mean that's on point. It's on brand.
I really don't like agreeing with Mel Kiper either because I think he's an asshat. Yes. But I've already said my piece about Derek Harmon. So
okay, so we've got an all quarterbacks draft on ESPN from Ben Solak, and Ben Solak has Cam Ward going number 1 overall, Shador going number 3 to the Giants, and then Jackson Dart will go 33rd, round 2 to the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers will net someone in round 3 with pick 83. So when they come back around, let's say it's Derek Harmon, let's say it's Omari and Hampton, and they come back around and get Alabama's Jalen Milroe. Now, I have a hard time getting excited about Jalen Milroe, but I could temper my, criticisms of Milroe if you're getting him, especially if it's 4th round. 3rd round, okay, pick 83. The Steelers have 2 picks in the top 100 this time. This isn't the draft where they got, Benton and got Jones and got Joey Porter and all these guys, right? So they got to be careful with what they do. And I don't know that this is, if they pass on running back here and they go with Milroe, you're hoping there's somebody else that could split time that you get with the 4th round.
I'm not, look, I don't hate it in the 3rd round. It's 3rd round and lower is where I expect it to be a viable choice at this point. But it depends on who they picked in the 1st round. If they picked Omari and Hampton in the 1st round and then they go Jalen Milroe in the 3rd, then my question is, okay, what you're doing is you're hoping your defensive line is going to be stabilized simply by having Benton play a bigger role, right? Since Larry's gone, That's what you're hoping. If that doesn't transpire, you got problems. And then now you're saying, okay, next year we have to both address quarterback and defensive line. So, which I'm actually sort of okay with. This wouldn't kill me. It just depends on who the 1st round draft pick is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to jump to Daniel Jeremiah on NFL.com. He's another one of the gurus. Took over from when Mike Mayock left to the sinking ship that was the Raiders to become their GM. And that was kind of, that's its own story on its own. So Shador, third to the Giants. There's some fun picks in here. I'm just trying to see, does he have any trades for the Steelers here? No. Matthew Golden to the Cowboys. That's kind of fun. I keep looking at Will Johnson with the Falcons. Like, well, if Will Johnson, I know it's not somebody the Steelers looked at, but man, it just seems like if you had a prime corner, not Thomas from Florida State, but I don't know, Johnson just seems a little different. Here we go. It's the same scenario here. Brian thinks Amari Hampton to the Broncos, and then Jackson Dart to the Steelers, McMillan to the Chargers. I might have glossed over Ibuka. He might not be here. Harmon to the Ravens. Oh man, that like kick you while you're down. And Kenneth Grant all the way down here to 30th to the Buffalo Bills. That would sting for me. I think that would sting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, I've been a small proponent of Dart. I don't picture him, especially if he gets in there. Let's say he were to start week 1. Let's say you got Mason with the best of your intentions. The Steelers were sniffing around for Joe Flacco because they probably wanted like another veteran guy in the room. And if they have like a rookie guy, but let's say Mason got hurt and you had to roll out there with Dart. Dart's not going to even put up the Justin Fields number. I'm like looking at him like not be able to throw a touchdown pass. Maybe he gets one here or there, runs for one maybe because he could use his feet. There's no denying that. He's talented, but he's going to throw 2 or 3 picks, or he might fumble or do something of that nature that's going to cost games early on. And it's going to be a rough season, and it's going to be a rough way to be introduced to the NFL versus you got Mason out there. He's seen some things at least. You've got an offensive line that still hasn't played in their positions together to gel yet. Let those things kind of come together first before you throw a guy like that out there. Otherwise, it's like you could get Grant, like somebody like that. We saw Nolan, we saw a Harmon. Like those players, I know I still say that it's a first-round pick that might be sitting on the sidelines, but they're still going to get enough playing time as a defensive lineman still. 30 to 50%. I mean, Hayward's got to play a full 17-game season. I mean, he's still an elite player when he's healthy, when he's fresh. So I struggle with that. Quarterback's the most important position. Getting a quarterback 3rd or 4th round, like we were saying earlier, doesn't necessarily mean that Shug or Howard or somebody like that's going to McCord, even Milroe, that they're going to be NFL starters. You might get lucky.
Correct.
If you get lucky, great. You hit the lot. You really hit the lottery, right? Because
yes, for sure.
This is like when you bought one Powerball ticket and it hit versus, I bought 1,000 Powerball tickets so I would, increase my odds at this landing the winning numbers. So that's the way I feel with it.
Having tons of scratch, going out there and paying $2,000 to get 1,000 Powerball tickets.
I don't play at all.
Look at you, Mr. Moneybags.
No, that is an analogy to Tannenbaum maybe having to give up two firsts and maybe a 4th to move up for Sanders.
I understand. I just like giving you crap.
I mean, I really do feel if that were to happen, Omar Khan does that. That's some hot seat material too. If it doesn't work,
yeah. But if it works, then you're right. It wasn't a mistake. I'll still think it was a mistake. Even if it works, I'll think it was a mistake.
Well, the most recent NFL.com mock draft is Mark Ross. I'm not sure that I'm familiar with Mark's work from prior seasons, but let's see what he's got cooking here.
I think this is the one I peeked at recently.
You may have.
Might be interesting. It's a little different, I think.
So Hampton against Shamar Stewart and
yes,
Edge.
It is. This is a little different.
Yes.
Right? And I'm going to tell you right now, if they do this, that means they traded TJ Watt.
Yeah. Okay. How do we feel about that? Like, that's stupid.
I think that's a terrible, dumb thing to do.
It's the worst thing they could possibly do. You don't trade like the entire cornerstone of your franchise right now. That's the best player on your team. Just don't do it.
Again, I'm going to play devil's advocate. TJ gets hurt a lot. And when he's hurt, he's not TJ, right? He is the TJ we saw at the end of the season last year is not the TJ that we saw at the beginning of the season. When TJ is playing with an injury, he is not nearly as effective. We know this, All right. As he gets older, he's more sustainable to injury. So again, playing devil's advocate, I can understand the temptation and the thought about, do you trade your aging star to get what you can get? To me, it's dumb, not necessarily for the reasons you're saying. It's dumb because it just throws away all knowledge of how the Steelers go about their business. Here's a guy that's done good service for them. He's on the level of Cam Hayward in what, the fan base thinks of him, maybe even above it. It's just unlikely that they take a guy who is a generational player for them, potential Hall of Famer, and decide to discard him via trade. When his contract is up, if he tries to force more years, then there's the potential for a Greg Lloyd-like situation where they're like, no, or even Franco. Remember, Franco went to play for the Seahawks for a season. How vomitous was that? So, that's potential, right? That's potential time when your aging star might think they got one more year in him. And, like Troy. Troy was essentially forced out, right?
Yes.
I don't know why they didn't do it with Ben, but they didn't. But still, I think that's when TJ may go, right? I don't think they ever trade TJ Watt.
I agree with you.
Unless some idiot comes up and says, here's 3 first-round picks for the next 3 years for TJ, and we go, all right, well, we kind of have to do that.
There's still you could miss on all of those. There's no such thing as a sure thing.
I agree.
3NFL.com notable names here. Bucky Brooks, Rhett Lewis, Maurice Jones-Drew all have the Steelers taking Jackson Dart with the 21st pick. We get to Lance Zierlein, who's another kind of guru. He's got another interesting take, Brian. He has Derek Harmon, except he has Derek Harmon at 26. Steelers going to trade back with the Rams and acquire some draft capital, which could be nice. I would like this. I would very much so like this. So I don't get to mock this one. This one I like. I'll take it.
I like it depending on what did they pass up on.
Okay,
at 21.
Well, Amanda Warry's behind them to the Ravens, which would be bad too. So Shedeur Sanders.
Don't care about that. Obviously.
Yes. Barron, and then Hampton wouldn't have made it to him. So I think.
See, there you go.
That works.
That's the reason I like that version. Hampton's gone. If you can get something to trade back and you still get Derek Harmon, great. I think you're in good shape at that point, depending on what you got for it, right? Depends on what you got. But hey, if it's building up picks for next year, I'm all for it.
Okay, I've been having to mute NFL.com because as I'm trying to talk to you and show these things, man, the video ads are among the worst things. They're very invasive. I've got Charles Davis and Eric Edholm queued up here as well. Charles Davis has Jackson Dart to the Steelers. So you're passing on Harmon.
Did they all just sit in a room and go,
yeah, pretty much.
Steelers taking Jackson Dart, everybody say it. We'll try and will it into existence.
And then Eric Edholm has Kenneth Grant at 21, their natural spot for Michigan. So that one's, I'm cool with that too. I have one of the Pro Football Focus, let's see, draft nicks here. So they've done some full mocks team by team. And let me grab the Steelers here. Oh, this is always fun. Let's see. They're talking about all the different upgrades. Oh, well, we've got a picture already. Picture says 1,000 words here.
Will Howard.
Will Howard.
Where do they take him? But we'll see.
So Azrae Thomas, Florida State. We were just talking about
like that.
So somehow when did they do this draft?
What the?
Oh, they did this in January, dude. So they wouldn't have had this. So this is a little off, but yeah, this is even like kind of pre-combine, isn't it? Riley Mills and then Will Howard.
Look at their own grades for their draft.
I know,
F,
right?
F,
F, A, and F, which is like what we got. We don't even have the second round pick anymore, so it's a total F. It's a total failure. Okay, that's crazy. That it was the number one thing they had. I gotta interrupt
you again.
Mm-hmm.
This is your site. You're making the picks on your own site, and your own site is telling you suck.
Well, the disappointing.
I'm sorry. That's the biggest mocking mock draft I can give you. Your own site tells you you're doing a bad job.
All right, I'm going to do one more that they have on here. I was trying to look for somebody's name. That's very weird that their main Draft Central from 3 days ago had, oh, this is the same thing. It's going to take me to the same place. Read the full mock draft, and that was the mock draft that was from January. So I don't have anything else for Pro Football Focus for the Steelers. I do have somebody from the Sporting News. We can start to round out some of these. And what's this person's name? Vinny Iyer. So this one was today or yesterday. One of the more recent ones that I saw come across the wire. And Jackson Dart once again. So that one's out the window. We've got Jim Sargent yesterday from USA Today. And I'm trying to go down to 21 immediately and see if the Steelers made any changes. And this is kind of interesting the way that this is done. These are potential first-round picks based on mocks from all of the major outlets. So these kind of did a composite here with offense. You've got Matthew Golden, Emeka Ibuka, Luther Burden, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milrose, Shador Sanders, Amarian Hampton, and Quinshon Judkins. I don't know. I thought Travion Henderson would have a better shot with the Steelers, honestly. And then on defense, Derek Harmon. And then corners, Benjamin Morrison, Siobhan Revel, Jade Barron, Will Johnson, I was just mentioning, and then Shamar Stewart, who we were talking about, maybe replacing TJ. So that was an interesting approach. Tankathon, which always shows the updated draft positions as teams are sucking throughout the year. Walter Nolan is their pick. Yep. For the Steelers. I don't hate that one whatsoever. And I might have, let's see, do we have maybe one or two more? Yeah, Pro Football Network actually has like a full list here. So I've got, let's see if we can pull up Colin Cowherd. Got a couple more here.
Colin Cowherd.
Oh, yeah, Mike Fabiano sounds like a good one.
I got to eat lunch soon. That's you can't. don't mention Colin Cowherd.
And let's see. I think that's going to be about it for the heavy hitters. We've hit most of them. The guys that are from the Athletic, they're all behind paywalls that I don't have access to. Adam Rank. I don't think we got Adam Rank in the NFL.com stuff. So let me pull up Adam Rank. And I think that's going to do it for us. So let me see if we've got the full. Well, we've got a composite. They only go to pick 15. Okay, I'm going to have to let me pull up the full thing here. Such is life. So we do have the one from Fabiano's got Dart going to the Steelers at 21. Pretty consistent. And then Shador Sanders at 21 by Adam Rank. So once again, quarterback, our final person, I believe here. We have got Colin Cowherd. Let's see if they do this pick by pick or not. But this was as of April 17th, so yesterday.
By the way, if you haven't watched that movie, it's a very good film.
What's that?
Yesterday.
Oh, he only went to what kind of nonsense is that? Oh, well, Colin Cowherd. Apparently, Cowherd doesn't know there's 32 teams, so he gets mocked just for that. I think they'll do it for us, folks. No mention of the Steelers in this article whatsoever. Maybe they did it. Maybe he's doing part 2, part of his show today. That's possible. So we'll bounce back around.
That's okay with me. Somebody needs to Will Smith Colin Cowherd about the Steelers and say, keep my team's name out your mouth. But here, so are we going on the record? Is this the show where we're going to go on the record and say, here's who we think what they're going to do, even though we don't have any clue?
Yeah. At least,
okay.
Who I'm probably going with Hampton. I don't have a problem with the defensive lineman, but it's a deep class for that too. You could do a coin flip. I wouldn't mind either one of them. The quarterback stuff, it might be noise. Maybe they do know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Maybe they're holding on. Maybe that's the ace up their sleeve, and it's another one of these smoke screens like a Malik Willis. We're really interested in Sanders. Get somebody else to bite. Their pick falls to them, and then they'll take a quarterback. But like we said, middle round, Shug, Howard, McCord, just throw them on the back of the bench. You got Rodgers and Rudolph, and you run with that. Even if you run with Rudolph and Thompson, and then a rookie, I mean, you roll with that too. But I like Hampton. I think he reminds me of maybe a more, I don't know, he's not necessarily, yeah, he's more explosive than Najee. He's got a lot of similar traits to Najee. Absolutely.
Like, so strangely enough, that's exactly where I'm going. He's been a visit. He's a position of need. I think Omarion Hampton is, if he's there, if the Broncos don't take him one pick before us, or if somebody else doesn't take him like the Cowboys, I think he's the guy. If he isn't there and Kenneth Grant is, I think he's the guy. I do think that's my
backup.
Yeah. Running back, D-line, wide receiver at the last option. And if all the people you want are gone, then I have no idea. Look, I don't buy they're going to pick a quarterback in the third round or in the first round. I just don't buy it. To me, I think they're smarter than that. I think they're positioning themselves with the moves they've made to have capital in 2026 when the draft is in Pittsburgh. As much as I don't believe anything in the NFL is truly scripted, I think you can script this scenario where they are picking the quarterback of the future in Pittsburgh with that draft. That's what I think. That's why I don't buy a first-round draft pick on quarterback this year.
I could pick up everything that you're putting down, my friend. Thanks for joining me once again. Mocking the mock drafts, a lot harder to mock when you have more needs. But I don't know, man. It feels rich. Jackson Dart could remind me of like a Drew. I look at the Broncos, Drew Lock, Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler. Like they threw a lot of darts at quarterbacks. And they're still throwing darts at quarterbacks post Peyton Manning. And they had to get Peyton Manning in between of, post John Elway. Went with a lot of guys out there too. So, the Jay Cutlers of the world and Tim Tebow and guys like that. So not a precise science. Could set your franchise back a while or quite a bit if you overshoot on that. You could still be... Yep. You can still be competitive, but you got to watch the rest of that. Just like the Broncos, the rest of that division, right?
I'm going to ask you a question now.
Okay.
Is there any reason you would trade up in this draft?
I don't really feel it. The only threat I feel is the Broncos at 20 taking Hampton. And I feel like if he's gone, great. If I get the trade back or do something else and I can pick up like a Travion Henderson, fine with me. Cam Scatterbo, I would take him too. Like, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't take him at 21.
Not in the first or second round.
Not at 21.
I'd take him in the third, yeah.
Judkins. I would take Judkins. So there's a number of running backs, I think, that are more than serviceable. You play Warren, and then that's the other guy. Yep. So, no, I don't feel that way. I don't. There isn't anything, I think, that's that great of a leap.
There is nobody I trade up in the first round to get. There just isn't right now. Not from where we are, not with what we have. I think you sit where you are. If the guys you want fall, like I think there's a better chance of them trading back than there is of them trading up. And that's just the way it is.
Yep. All right, my friend. Well, thanks for joining me. Folks, thanks for joining us. I know it's been tough. Looks like Steelers land is in disarray. It wasn't a good end of the season. Wasn't a particularly exciting free agency. But what are the Pittsburgh Pirates fulfilling for you right now, or the Penguins? It's a sad time in the City of Champions right now. They've got all the sports teams are not doing well, but we've got the NFL draft. That's something to be excited about until it's over, and then you have to wait. We
can complain about the pick no matter who it is.
Yeah, and we wait until training camp to actually see them on the field, and we get all excited again, and then we'll see whether or not it was all an illusion. So it's the rinse and repeat process. Join us here again less than a week. We will have your draft coverage post-draft nights 1 and 2, so Thursday and Friday, later in the evening, maybe even
live.
I hadn't decided that quite yet. The live shows sometimes a little more difficult to pull off, but we'll see, Brian. Maybe we'll do it for our fans. Leave a note there in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see us live. Let us know. Till next time, my name is Joe. His name is Brian. And as always, we encourage everyone out there, and we really mean this. Don't go off a cliff because Aaron Rodgers doesn't know what he's doing, or Omar Khan doesn't know what he's doing, or Mike Tomlin doesn't know what he's doing, or Art Rooney II doesn't know what he's doing. Just, support the logo, support Steel City Underground. Be safe, be good, and we'll catch you after the draft.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.